All right. Let's find out if this is going to work tonight. YouTube kind of changed things a little bit on me, so all the screen, my normal screen, is different. But if this is running, I want to hear somebody say something in the comments, because we're going to get right into the show tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about the meme police that happened in the UK, and we're also going to talk a little bit about California. Why do I have that written down? We're going to get into where are we going? What's going to happen next? And also, believe it or not, we're talking about Candace Owens just a little bit. This is just a taster before we get into the real meat of stuff, because now we're going to go into asteroids. What is happening with this 3-eye atlas? Has there been others? And what does it mean for Bible prophecy? Well, I'm going to tell you soon. Stay tuned.
The system is totally rigged and broken.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. Oh my gosh.
Demonstrated will declare themselves to be inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxies that are coming to warn the inhabitants of planet Earth of the impending destruction of the planet.
It is now 89 seconds to midnight. This is the closest the world has ever been.
I still think these are what people call angels. I'm dying to know what they've got to say.
Pretty severe suffering brings them.
These entities have the ability to appear in any form.
Good evening, strangers. This is another episode of Strange Normal. We're going to talk about the stranger things that happen in your normal life to give you a biblical understanding of what is going on. And there's a lot going on, so hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell icon so you're notified when things like this happen. And oh, by the way, everybody likes hitting buttons, right? So hit that like button a couple times. It's not like it matters, but I want to make sure you actually hit it because it really does change the algorithm. Hit that like button so that we get more likes and it brings more people into the chat. All right, so let's get into it. 3-eye atlas. You know, I've been requested to talk about this so many times that I thought, you know, it's finally time. I got to make a confession. I didn't really think much about this topic, and so I didn't talk about it because I think, oh, it's another comet, another asteroid that's going to go past Earth. But there's something else interesting about this that I think deserves some talk because I try to apply it to spirituality and understand exactly what's happening here. And I think that's very important for everybody as we're digging into this stuff and as events, strange events, continue throughout history. But before we get into the meat of that, I thought it'd be interesting to go over some things I've seen this week and probably happened recently. Some of these memes, I'm not even sure if they did, but something really caught my attention. But so this is kind of just something to think about. There's a little bit of a caveat to this next clip, but I want to show you something before we get into the real nitty-gritty. That was wild. You know, oh, it's not even in my notes. How did I miss that? Yeah, let's go ahead with that anyway. I'll just talk through it without my notes here. Yeah, all right, here we go. Watch this. This is interesting to me.
Okay, what was it?
Sorry, I don't like the camera. You can have my body cam. I can exhibit that to you. I just don't like the camera, really.
Okay, well, I'm doing this because this is my own house and I am telling you why I'm doing it. So I just need to know why would she's basically viewed a post which is not an arrestable offence.
Yeah.
Okay.
It happened in May and you're completely fine. The only thing is,
yeah.
we need to seize the phone at this current moment.
Yeah.
The phone needs to get seized from us, otherwise we will escalate this further.
But with a voluntary interview.
So have you seized anyone else? Is she the only child you're picking on?
Voluntary interview, you'd be able to come in
Have
with
you
your
spoken
daughter
to anyone
and a
else?
solicitor,
No, we'll
because there's
come
no
to the
rest.
station now.
Do you mind letting her finish her sentence before
Yeah.
It does have to get further escalation, unfortunately.
That's fine, we'll come to the
No,
station now.
you're not under...
The phone isn't seized right now, and we're not able to basically get the phone. We have to escalate this further,
Yeah.
which means your daughter will get arrested.
For what?
And then
Viewing a
I need
social media post? Is
I
that
need to go with her in order to.
No, absolutely not.
What can we do to
No.
prevent destruction of evidence?
I'm sorry.
Lisa,
That's fine. I would like you to leave now. I'd like you to leave.
This is why you're...
Okay, I have nothing more to say to you.
All right, I'm going to pause it there. Notice that this video is heavily edited, and it's made to really bump up your emotions, because what it seems like is happening here is that these police officers that look like they're in underage have come in and they have decided they're going to seize the cell phone and find out what's going on it because of someone that's viewed a social media post. Well, it got my attention because I thought, this is coming in. And it's kind of confirmation bias, to be honest with you, because I know that this is going to happen someday. But if you dig into it a little bit, what they're doing is they want to know there's some obscene messages, obscene maybe imagery that has been done with this social media account, a fake account, and they're coming to investigate it. I don't think this would have ever really been dug into in America, but this is a different country, and I understand a little bit better now why they would want to maybe investigate this a little bit, but it still does ruffle your feathers a little bit if the police come to your door and say, hey, we want to check out your social media. We want to look at your phone devices. And I have a few things to say about this, because I think we're coming upon a time when this will happen. In fact, just in the live chat, they were saying there was a friend of mine, I guess, I consider you all friends, even though I've never met you before, that was saying, we really should think about a second place to live stream this, just in case someday policies are made to shut down this, because we know it will. Things are going to happen. And everyone's going to be canceled. I hate cancel culture. That's, when the Christian comes up to me and they say, well, I don't go to, name a place, Walmart. Walmart's done some pretty bad things, but they don't go there anymore because they're canceling them due to what they've done. We've all done bad things, and there's some businesses that have done bad things, but really, Revelation talks about a time where it's going to cancel the saints because of a misunderstanding. So I think we should give everyone a little bit of grace on what's happening. However, in this situation, never let the police inside your house unless they have a search warrant. At least here in America, I don't know about other places, but you aren't supposed to, and they can try to persuade you to do that. And if they take you down to the station, I don't care if you're innocent or guilty, you ask for a lawyer. You don't speak with them, no matter how nice they are. Now I know there's police that are watching this. I know that not just because that you are police, but because you are good people that want to do the right thing. I think everyone wants to, essentially in their head, do the right thing, but here's the catch. The job of a cop is not to find the good guy. Let me repeat that. The job of a police officer doesn't get a promotion for finding the good people in society. So they're going to be looking for any evidence to convict you. That's what a lawyer is for. So if you get called down to the police station, you don't know why, or you have a good idea why, bring a lawyer. This is going to become a very important thing at the end of time when there's a bias against people following the Bible. That's why I brought this up. Don't let them into your house. Don't talk to police and ask for a lawyer, even if you're innocent. Don't just, hey, you want to come down to the police station? No. I'll come down to the police station, get my lawyer. I'm not going to, I'm going to say, remain silent, and I'll talk to a lawyer. That's all you have to do. So we're going to think about that for a little while. Okay, so let's actually get into a couple things real quick, because I want to dig into a couple things. The next couple weeks is going to be very busy, and you're not going to see me live for at least 2 or 3 weekends here. But I'm going to have pre-recorded shows that I think you're going to be very interested in that I have to get done and edit this week. But it's going to be fascinating to go through this stuff, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. We're going to California, Denmark, the Space and Rocket Center in Alabama, and also Idaho a few weekends after that. So California is going to be October 17th through 18th. The High Desert Bilingual SDA English Congregation. So there's 2 churches there. Make sure you choose the Bilingual English Congregation. That's you can find that 7875 7th Avenue, Hesperia. Also, Denmark, if you are across the pond there, I will be flying across the pond to speak 3 different locations. So that's going to be Denmark. I'll be there 21st through 28th. And that will be on the west side of Denmark. The 24th, we'll be speaking at October 7. I'm going to really mess these city names up, but you ready for this? Maybe I should just pull up my notes so you can actually see it. This is where I'm going to be at right here. Then the back leisure center. And the 25th, that's the church I'm going to be at. And then this is the name of the next lecture center I will be at. If that's something that you're into and you're near those locations, you should definitely check me out. We're there for a whole week, but I'm only going to be preaching for about 3 weeks or three days, and I'm going to explore. It's going to be something I've never been to before, so it's going to be neat. If you're there, I'd love to see you. Then coming back, it's going to be off the plane, the next day on the plane for the next couple weeks, and going to this, and we're going to drive down to the Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, and that's going to be October 30 through 31, Friday night and Saturday afternoon. This is a very good one. I think they all are good, but I want to show you some things real quick. This is if I can bring it up here, the Blue Star, you can see it up on the screen here, is the conference that we're going to be at. This is at the Space and Rocket Center. The new location, you remember Houston, we have a problem? Well, this is now going to be Birmingham, I think it is. Huntsville, we have a problem. If there's, this is the location of all the NASA stuff. This is where scientists are going to view the spiritualism and ultimately return of Christ. And we need to reach these folks. So if you've been in the area, you should come here as well. I was given these. There was supposed to be someone else that comes on and talks with me about this, but they couldn't make it. And I didn't hear back. But this is definitely something you should pay attention to, and you can reach out to this and find it online. Blue Star 2.0 is the name of it. And surely there's there it is. At the bottom of the screen, thewisdompearl.org is where you can go to find out more information about that. And people have been asking me about this, so I made sure I put the dates on here. And then we're going to have 2 weekends off. I'm going to be back with you doing live streams, fortunately, for 2 weekends after those 3 weekends. But then it's Idaho. Idaho is November 22 through 24. That's in Templeton's on the river. And it's going to be November 23 at 10 o'clock and 3 p.m. So make sure you are there for that if you're in Idaho. I hope it's Idaho. I think it's Idaho. I wrote in my notes it's Idaho. And then I'm going to get back to my real estate. So if you don't know, I'm a real estate agent, and I have been not really neglecting that. I still do that quite a bit on the regular days, but on the weekends I'm a speaker, and I'm traveling around the country. So I am going to make sure that if you are in the area and you need someone to help you out, find a place, look me up. You have my number. If you don't, email me. It'll be in the comments below. We're trying to get out this booklet. This is a booklet. We're sending out the bulk stack next week. It better be next week because I'm going to be gone for the rest of the few weeks here, and we're going to get that out to everybody. Because if you want some of these booklets for free requests, go to strangenormal.org. This has everything you need. Everything we talk about on this program is in this booklet. And the funny thing is, if you turn right to the center of it, the major quotes are right in the center. It's really fascinating, and 1 page back, and it really talks about that. We're going to dig into that tonight, but before we do, let's look into this this Candace Owens thing. I don't really like talking about other podcasters because I think it's just negative. It's bad. You know, you don't want to talk about other people that are actually doing the same thing unless they're really, you can really see that you can tie this to spiritualism. Someone that is well known, named Candace Owens, that used to work, that got her start and has a big channel now, is absolutely going to be part of the final events pushing the wrong side, not just religiously, but also spiritually. I mean, let me show you what I mean by that. Something happened back when what's his name? Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Regardless of what side you're on that, this is not a political statement, but Candace Owens started coming out and she started saying, absolutely, this is an inside job, and the people in his organization, you know, the thousands that he employed, are having a heyday with this, and someone didn't do it right for him, and they better leave. Let me just allow you to hear it in her words, and I'll tell you how this ties into the Bible and Bible prophecy in a minute, because this is really fascinating where this is going. Let's see if I have the right one pulled up here.
I believe that people within that company betrayed Charlie. Okay? That's just what I believe right now. And I want to make sure that I have these facts entirely on my side before I tell you guys more. I will say, if you are a rat on a ship, you should probably flee now. I recommend it.
Interesting, huh? Okay, so it's completely against the narrative that someone on the top of a roof shot Charlie, right? So this is really interesting, and it's catching everyone by guard. Remember what I said about social media, though? The more against the story, counter to the story that you say about things, the more interest it piques people, because they think, oh, I got to have that hidden knowledge. Someone doesn't know about this. Let me find out more about it. The more clicks you get, the more subscribers you get, and ultimately, attention is the new currency. And so I'm not saying that Candace is nefariously just trying to use this as a springboard to make more money, but I do think that the system lends itself towards fanaticism. The system lends itself towards fanaticism. And I have to catch myself on that and not jump into things like Oakwood, for instance. I'm not going to show you clips of this. Oakwood having speaking in tongues and all this stuff because for one, people make mistakes. Leaders put people on stage that make mistakes. And so I'm not going to throw that out there and make an ooh-ah over it just to get clicks. But I think at the same time, we need to call out what is wrong, and I think they already know that it was wrong. They've had a lot of backlash for that. So these are the kind of things I'm thinking about as I'm presenting this and as the channel grows. You don't want to, mess things up too much. So Candace became Catholic, and this was back when she was still at her former job in Nashville, working for Ben Shapiro. And so that raised some red flags in my head when this well-spoken woman all of a sudden flipped from Protestant to Catholicism, because Protestant is the exact opposite of Catholicism. Catholicism is like the Mary worship, the I'm going to push the agenda of the Catholic Church, who wants to rule the world, basically. The Pope wants to rule the world, and he wants to decide what is moral and what is not. And then Candace was against that, and all of a sudden she said, I think I want to be for that now. Why? Why did that happen? So I dug into that a little bit, and we're going to come back to what she's talking about, Charlie Kirk, and I'll tell you how the spiritualism fits in. You're going to be blown away by this, but listen to her why she became Catholic first. Here's it is.
People always want to know, what made you become baptized, convert into the Catholic faith? I was Protestant my entire life, and everybody's journey is different, and everybody's journey, or at least for me, has been very strange, and I'm very excited to share it with you. And I think you guys have probably figured out that my journey really was through politics to faith. Not a typical journey, but that is really where it began for me. And so because I was interested in understanding my husband's faith and what was drawing him further into it, I started asking all of the questions and came up with all of the things. Well, like, you guys worship Mary. Yeah, it's not good. You shouldn't do that. What are all these objects here? You shouldn't be doing that. The Bible speaks against idolatry. You guys have heard all of the talking points over and over again. I'm now giving this to my husband. I said, but listen, in the spirit of healthy debate, I will set up a time for you to come on my show. My husband never does any publicity unless it is to speak about his faith. And to have a debate with Allie Stuckey. Known her for years, and she's so lovely. And I just really want this to be kind of like the great debate because, I think you guys are well matched. And she's going to speak on behalf of Protestants, and then you can speak on behalf of Catholics. And, good luck. I'm just going to be in the middle and watching this thing. And I was listening, and I thought my husband was making some pretty sound points. And then after this debate, and I promise you guys this is the truth, and I have to pull this up on my phone, in the comments section, this is when the beginning of the rest of my life began. An unknown human being named Jose, who somewhere in the world is probably going, this began with me, wrote this under the debate regarding Protestants. Shallow doctrinal talking points just hide the unequivocal American dislike for royal authority. That's what's really going on. The idea that you can make your own denomination with the doctrinal tidbits that you like is quintessential to American freedom. Anybody can be president, anybody can be a pastor. Evangelical Christianity really is classic Americana in a religious costume. The fact that there are thousands of mutually incompatible Protestant denominations proves Protestantism as a whole cannot be the truth. It was politically convenient for the Northern European powers when it popped up to rival Rome, and then it adapted beautifully to the character of American society. Protestantism is more interesting sociopolitically than theologically. Ouch.
All right, so she's speaking to a bunch of Catholics here, and I want you to notice that flowery language didn't really say anything. It didn't have any facts behind it. It didn't have anything but just to chew down the idea that something happened, and we had a bunch of Protestant churches that were created after this. It didn't talk about the 99 Thesis that Luther nailed to the wall door. It didn't talk about anything. It just said, well, it fits the American culture, and look how many there are. That tells you something, doesn't it? No, it does tell you something. It tells you that where there is truth, Satan wants to scatter the truth. Divide and conquer is what happened. And so I don't understand how someone that was supposedly so smart, so well-spoken, missed that. And it really had me guessing real quick. We're about 2/3 of the way through this clip. They're going to clap for her because she's at a Catholic presentation somewhere. But listen to what she says after this. She reads some comments and things. Listen.
It was the seed. It was the seed that planted, and I just went, oh my, is this classic Americana? Is this everything that I say about the left? Is this sort of like my truth, my truth, my truth, as opposed to the truth? And I just knew, when I read that comment, I knew that Protestantism for me was over. And then I started wondering, why was I told that these were the Dark Ages? You mean the Catholic Ages? Is that what we're really talking about?
They were the Catholic Ages.
And then I started to learn more about the Spanish Inquisition. Oh, those evil Catholics. And then I started learning the truth about the Crusades. And I started wondering, how could it be that every time I learn about Catholic history, something is being intentionally omitted, misrepresented, with the end result being in school that I am supposed to walk away thinking that Catholics are evil? I want you guys to know something. I want to share this with you. You can take it or you can leave it, but Charlie was betrayed.
Okay.
I know this. I've known this really since the first second, but I rarely have vivid dreams. And I did, in fact, have a very vivid one over the weekend.
Cool. So that auto skips straight into the next clip, but I want you to, I missed the part where she said, hey, look, I had another comment and commenter tell me she felt in her heart that she was correct on this. Be very careful with your feelings. I thought that was a clip coming after this, but then Candace starts having dreams about Charlie. And listen to how she cites her dreams as biblical at the very end. Listen to what she says. I have some comments on this, but listen to what she says about how she's sure that somebody inside the organization did it because of her dream.
In fact, the last time that I had a super vivid dream, I was pregnant. Tends to happen a lot to women when they're pregnant. But in that dream from 2023, my former producer of the show and I were standing in the control room, and she told me that she was 26 weeks pregnant. This is in the dream. And she told me exactly what month the baby was coming. I asked her in the dream, is it a boy? Is it a girl? And she said, it's a boy. I woke up and I immediately texted my producer in real life and I said, hey, you're pregnant, just so you know, it's a boy. And then she found out that she was pregnant 1 week later. She had no idea when I texted her. And it's something that we reflected on a couple of months later because she was just totally shocked looking back on it. And this is our text chain from, you can see, 2023. She said, you texted me June 16th. And I think I got pregnant June 26th. This is crazy. And it's going to be a boy. It's nuts.
All right, notice those dates. She couldn't have predicted that because that happened a week or so later. And she's still taking credit for it.
I said, I'm telling you, your baby visited me. It was an insanely vivid dream. He was on his way. And she said, that is so bizarre. My mom also texted me that week saying that she had a dream I was pregnant.
For someone that, okay, so let's think about her politics for a second, just for a moment. I'm not saying this is my politics. I'm not saying that this is something I'm stating. I'm just saying that according to what she teaches in politics, a person begins at conception, and now she's saying a baby was on the way a week before conception? How is that even possible? How is that even possible? How does that even make any sense? Okay, let's continue. This is not the main point of this, but I think it's interesting.
I said, I haven't had a dream that vivid since. It's been my only vivid dream this entire pregnancy. I believe people can communicate in dreams on their way in and on their way out of this.
Okay, now we're getting into spiritualism. Maybe this is the real reason she became Catholic, because she believes in the duality of the soul. The idea that you have a ghost inside of you that is separate from your body. We're going to dig into that in just a moment.
I similarly, like I just said, had a vivid dream this weekend, and Charlie came to me and he told me that he was betrayed.
Okay, so this is the real reason, not because of some tip that she got online or that that emailed in or that came to her. It's because she had a dream. Be very careful with dreams, visions, and feelings. Listen to what she says about this.
And so for me, you don't have to believe that, but I do believe that. And it was the immediate sense I got, actually. And I don't know who exactly it is that betrayed him, but I also felt in the dream that it is soon going to be revealed, that it's actually inevitable that it is going to be revealed, that there is nothing and no one that is going to stop the truth from coming out, and it is going to have international consequences. Take that to the bank. Quote me on that.
Okay.
Women tend to have a stronger intuition about people, I would say. I think it was the writer, producer Conrad Flynn that recently went on to Tucker Carlson's show, and he discussed that phenomenon in the context of the persecution of Christ.
Okay. Listen to this. And for a second, this will make you pause and go, well, that is biblical. But listen and tell me in the comments why this is incorrect and she can't use this example. This is interesting. Listen, folks.
Talking about Pontius Pilate's wife warning him not to persecute Jesus. Elda MJ writes, rooting for you from...
Okay, so did you catch that? So she said, Pontius Pilate had dreams, his wife had dreams, so I can have dreams too. You know what the problem is? Pontius Pilate didn't have dead people come to him. Pontius Pilate's wife didn't have dead people come to her in her dream. Because God doesn't use dead people to give you a dream. Ever. 100%. You can quote me on that. You can take that to the bank. He doesn't use dead people because dead people are dead. It's only Satan that uses dead people to manipulate you, to make it seem as if it is a control, to control you. Do not trust this woman. She is working for the other side, and she is absolutely dangerous. Take that to the bank. I know there's a lot of people that are going to really hate me for saying that, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from on this. This is super dangerous. Super dangerous. So listen to some of our commenters. What do they say about this? Listen to this stuff.
Malaysia and praying for your safety. You are so brave. Thank you. Donna writes, I'm not crying. You're crying. Candace, yeah, no, you were crying. I felt the Holy Spirit in every word that you pressed today. Godspeed. And may he bless you eternally for what you are doing, the potential sacrifice of your life and those around you. Yeah, I think we have to be brave. And I'm a real Christian. I know that this life is not it. I know it's not it. And in fact, people I know have intentionally been trying to convince us that this is it so that they can further commit you to their matrix, to get you to agree to sell your soul, to get you to agree to lie because you're so worried about things that are in this world. I know that Charlie's soul was removed from his body, and I know that he's watching.
No, he's not. And I see you in the comments. I see people saying, well, you know, she's sincere. I do believe you can be sincere about this stuff. And I feel for those that are sincere about this stuff. And I think that it's good to be sincere about something, but you can be sincerely wrong about something. And sincerely wrong people are in danger of leading people down the wrong path. And so that's what I'm really concerned about. I'm not going to listen to sincere people if they're preaching a sincere message that is wrong. Oh, Candace, I enjoyed listening to you, but we're done.
And I keep that in mind. When it gets hard, I keep in mind that Charlie is watching, and I feel that he's with me, and he's proud that somebody who cared about him is fighting. I want you guys...
Nope. He's not. Oh, man. So we got a lot going on. Let me get back to my notes real quick, because we have... That's one of the main things I wanted to talk to you about in Candace, is that she's receiving dreams. She's receiving dreams about Charlie Kirk, from Charlie Kirk, and she's saying that someone betrayed him, which is, I don't know, something could come out. But at the same time, I don't give it a lot of credence, and I think she's really damaging her message if she wants to do it that way. Really, she's going down the wrong path, and she followed her husband down this path. I have yet to see the episode of her and her husband in some apparently pretty terrible Protestant, because they should have been able to defend themselves. I believe I'm part of the only Protestant church left. Everyone else is kind of apostate. But that's I digress on that. Through two great errors, the immortality of the soul and Sunday sacredness, Satan will bring in Satan will while the former lays the foundation for spiritualism, the latter creates a bond of sympathy with Rome. Do you see this happening with Candace? I do, and I'm very concerned about it, because Candace is going down this path. That's from the Great Controversy, page 588. Those two things, the two great errors, immortality of the soul, and Revelation 13. Basically, it says many times in that chapter, this last deception is going to be about worship. So whether you agree with me or not on the seventh-day Sabbath, you should agree that it is about worship. Two things. And why do I think the immortality of the soul is such a big deal? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let me show you. Now, if you go to Numbers 25, 1-3, it says, Now Israel remained in Acacia Grove, and the people began to commit harlotry with the women of Moab. They invited the people to sacrifice of their gods, and the people ate and bowed down to their gods. Now Israel, the people of God, joined with Baal Peor, and the anger of the Lord was aroused against them. So they started worshiping idols. Oh, wow. They started worshiping these things. Okay, so what happened later on? Psalms gives us a bigger picture of what's happening. They joined themselves to Baal Peor and ate sacrifices. We know that. But the sacrifices weren't made to the idols. They were made to the dead. So these dead and the idols were kind of synonymous together. Okay, so the dead are synonymous. They were worshiping basically the dead. That's called necromancy, when it was forbidden in the Bible, if you know your Bible. 1 Corinthians 10:20 says, Rather, the things that which the Gentiles sacrificed, they sacrificed to demons. Okay, so now the picture is expanded. They were worshiping and sacrificing to demonic entities and not to God. Fascinating. So this is exactly what's going to happen in the time, is that these things are going to appear to you again and say, oh, I've got something from God. Or, by the way, I know how to push your message further. Folks, that's exactly what's happened to Candace. And this is what's happening, and it will happen again. Revelation says clearly, this is like the mantra of the this whole program, is this the right button? Yeah, it is. Revelation 16:14, for they are spirits of demons performing signs which go out to the kings of the earth and to the whole world to gather them to the battle of great day of God Almighty. It doesn't say that alien greys are going to be the ones that are going to that are going out to the kings of the world. But Satan's going to use all his different powers, whether it be the state of the dead, and right now we're seeing the governments seeing balls of fire in the sky and saying, oh, these things, they're ET, but they're coming from Earth. We're not exactly sure how that works, but they're ET here on Earth. Yeah, okay, that's spiritualism. And when these things appear to people, like Chris Bledsoe, they're appearing as Egyptian gods. Who's to stop them from appearing as dead loved ones? Dead people, like Candace in her dream. Nothing. So the spiritualism that has already begun is beginning to go further and further, and we're seeing the beginning of it. So that Candace clip really resonates with this channel, and I want to warn you guys of what's happening right now. Speaking of which, Morneau talks about this, and I know you've heard this over and over again, but I'm going to go into this clip right now so you can remember it. This is the first time watching this program, watch what Roger Morneau says here. This is fascinating. If I can bring it up. There it is.
And the priest told us, we talked quite a while, and then he said, could I have a little bit more of your time? I want to do something very fascinating. He says, the grain plain, the master's grain plain, for harvesting the nations, for harvesting the multitudes of the earth into his cause, just before the close of the great controversy between the forces of good and evil. So we continued, after we expressed ourselves that we're deeply interested to know more about the activities of the spirits. And he said it's going to be done in a unique manner. This grand plan is going to take people are going to eat the stuff. Because he says spirits, demon spirits, will declare themselves to be inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxies that are coming to warn the inhabitants of planet Earth of the impending destruction of the planet, unless something seriously proper is done to avoid it. That the spirits will show themselves willing to give valuable guidance that will not only help people avoid the destruction of the planet, but it would cause it to enter into a higher state of existence. For instance, he said the spirits will promise, and this is a big word, promise, that if their recommendations are followed carefully, they will usher in a glorious new age of peace and prosperity, perfect happiness for 1,000 years. That's what the Spirit is going to promise.
Ah, the age of Aquarius. That's exactly what they'll promise. The perfect happiness for 1,000 years, and that is what absolutely the Great Controversy says. It says that they will come at us and say, you are preventing the 1,000 years of peace here on Earth. I'm paraphrasing, of course. But Roger Morneau says this. It goes on. I'm going to show you some quotes. I'm working on a booklet. I'm working on a sermon. It'll be done by this week. It's talking about how all these things can be extrapolated right from the Bible. But in my church, we have some Bible commentary that makes a really great shortcut, and you can understand it really quick. I'm going to show you those things right now. If you don't want Bible commentary, wait for my booklet to come out. I'm going to prove it from the Bible. You won't need these quotes. But for those listening, listen to this. Fearful sights of a supernatural character will soon be revealed in the heavens in the token and power of miracle-working demons. Wow, something big is going on here. And these spiritual devils will go forth to the kings of the earth and to the whole world. That's basically Revelation 16. To fasten them in deception, to urge them to unite with Satan in the great struggle against the government of heaven. By these agencies, rulers and subjects will be alike deceived. Last day events. He and the angels who fell with him will appear as men seeking to deceive. Oh, it's second select messages. This is last day events. Satanic agencies in human form will take part in this last great conflict to oppose the building up of God's kingdom of God. Okay, so we're going to have, think about this for a second. You have all these scientists that are out there looking for external life because they think that they can gain secret knowledge, new technology from it. Wouldn't it be perfect if these things just all of a sudden came and they said, oh, by the way, we are from a long ways away and we can give you secret knowledge. All you have to do is X, Y, Z. And right here it says they will appear as men on earth. Fascinating. Okay, so kind of see how this is coming together now, and then you got to say, well, surely this would have been talked about in different commentaries, right? Absolutely, it has been. Let me show you. It says it right here. Great Controversy, page 552. When they had been led to believe that the dead actually returned to communicate with them, Satan causes those who appeared who went into the grave unprepared. They claim to be happy in heaven and to occupy exalted positions there, and thus the error is widely taught that no difference is made between the righteous and the wicked, and the pretended visitants from the world of the spirits. What? Okay, so pretended. So they're pretending to be visitants from the world of the spirits. But I thought they were spirits. Don't the spirits come from the old world? No, the Bible says they're veiled. They're part of this world. They're veiled. It's science that has said, oh, there's another realm. There exists a parallel universe where we exist on top of this one. It doesn't exist. No, they're veiling themselves. I don't know how it works. Out of phase, as Star Trek says. Who knows how it works? I'm not going to get into that. But what it does say is that these visitants claim to be from the world of the spirits. That's not Earth. They claim to be extraterrestrial. Okay, so that happened. That's going to happen in the future. Has it happened before? Because there's nothing new under the sun. Absolutely it has. Watch this. In the days of the Hebrews, there was a class of people who claimed, as do the spiritualists of the day, to hold communion with the dead. But the familiar spirits, as these visitants from other worlds, people often stop me and say, look at this other one. It says world. That's not talking about extraterrestrial. Well, look at this. She said worlds. The worlds were called. So she says these were called. In other words, they were pretending to be of visitants from other worlds with an S, are declared by the Bible to be spirits of devils. These devils were pretending to be E.T. I am from a long places away. God created us too, and we want to tell you more information about how you can be closer to God. This world is going to have major disasters unless you do X, Y, and Z. That's coming, folks. I've only had one pushback from one pastor that says, oh, come on, this is in the fifth bowl or whatever it is. We don't need to worry about that because probation is closed by then. Wrong. That's not how it works, friends, because what happens is we're told to go and tell the people about the two main things that are going to be the trips, the problems that is going to throw everyone, all good Christians that are like Candace, well-intentioned, and lose them. And what's that going to be? Wrong worship, just like the Cain and Abel situation. And necromancy, talking to the dead instead of going to God. Probation is not closed by then if we're told to go and do this. So it's important that we talk about this topic. Let me see if I can get some likes on this video if you think that's important. And if you think this is important, by the way, we got a Patreon, patreon.com/strangenormal. Your reoccurring donation helps us continue this message. Helps us buy new cameras. These are getting old and soft. We need to actually upgrade some things in here so we can have a better podcast for you. Pointing to my podcast set, which is just on the left over here. But this is interesting because now you got scientists that are pointing to other things in space and saying, boy, I sure hope that we don't have asteroids that come hit our planet. Haven't we been taught by propaganda for a long time through our education system, through Hollywood? What was that movie, Armageddon? There's a couple movies that came out about asteroids hitting the Earth and causing a climactic situation. All this propaganda came out and said, hey, this is all going to happen. You're going to have this terrible stuff. And now scientists are all worried about this. And they're looking for asteroids that are coming going to come hit us because they don't believe in anything that's protecting us. What if? Could it be? I'm just saying, could it be that someday something comes and says an asteroid is going to hit the Earth? Traumatic natural disasters are going to happen. Man-made bloodshed, wars and rumors of wars are going to happen unless you do X, Y, and Z. Everyone has to get back to church. Everyone has to get into the rhythm. The New Age movement of that flow, whatever that is called, in sync with the thing that is nature. I don't know. They're going to say something like that. So science has seen three things. They've seen Oumuamua back in 2017. You remember that? So Oumuamua was founded in October 2017 by Robert Work using a Pan-STAR telescope in Hawaii. That's why it's Oumuamua. It has a weird word because it's Hawaiian or named after something in Hawaii. Showed slight acceleration inconsistencies with pure gravity, yet without visible outgassing. So something was weird about this, and it passed us. Then in 2019, you didn't hear about this one because it looked like a regular asteroid. No one cared. This was called the Borisov, and I can't even say that word because in August 2019, amateur astronomer, I'll just put it on the screen here so you can see it because I can't pronounce some of these things. Gennady Borivo, the last name in Crimea, was a very similar and ordinary solar system comet, rich in carbon monoxide and water and dust and grains. And then, suddenly, now we have 3i Atlas. What are all these other called? Well, it's 1i and 2i and 3i, and that's where you get these things because these are the third things you've seen so far. So we're seeing more and more of these asteroids coming towards Earth. Could it be that we're seeing more and more of this stuff happening? Does the Bible say anything about asteroids? It does talk about major climactic events. Can we look through some of these dangerous events that happen and see what it says? Well, I've extrapolated upon it. I have I didn't bring it. I got the book out and I didn't even bring it with me. It's called, have you heard of Mervyn Maxwell? He's a book, a little blue book, big thick blue book called God Cares. He goes over the prophetic books of Daniel and Revelation. I have several copies for some reason. I think we were doing a Bible study at one time. And it's interesting. I went through the Mervyn Maxwell study and trying to find, okay, what is it today? Understanding this whole, a few verses that seem very prophetic in here. Are they from a historical standpoint? Is it a dual prophecy? Is it in the future? And some of these are not just in Revelation and Daniel. Some of them are in Matthew, Luke, and other places too. And I'm going to go over actually 12 different verses, not just 10. So you got 2 bonus today for sticking with me this long. But before we do that, I do want to see what this whole thing is about. These 3i Atlas. Let's dig into a couple videos and see why the news is all riled up about this. You want to see that real quick? Enough of me talking. Why am I up here talking? Let's hear what these stories actually say. All right, here we go.
What if an interstellar object whirling through our solar system is actually a nuclear-powered spacecraft sent by aliens to test how humans respond? That's what a noted astrophysicist believes might be the case, and he says an image from the Hubble telescope backs him up. Most scientists agree that the so-called 3i Atlas is a comet from another solar system. But Harvard scientist Avi Loeb claimed on this show a couple of weeks ago that it could actually be some type of alien technology. Now, that's a controversial opinion all on its own. But he's now going a step further, arguing that the 3i Atlas could be a nuclear-powered alien spacecraft. Loeb says the Hubble picture appears to show the object emitting its own light. The object also appears to lack something that all comets have in common, and that's a tail. So what is this thing exactly?
This supposed comet is catching the attention of some of the nation's most renowned scientists, as one Harvard professor is raising the theory this may actually be a piece of alien technology. According to renowned theoretical physicist Professor Avi Loeb, the comet is on an extremely unusual path, moving too fast to be bound by the sun's gravity, breaking a typically seen orbital trajectory.
An update now to a story that we have been monitoring for months. If you regularly watch Finnerty, you will be familiar with this next story. Right now, as we speak, 3I Atlas, an enormous glowing object the size of Manhattan, is speeding toward Earth on what appears to be a planned, coordinated trajectory. It's going so fast that you could fly from New York to Los Angeles in just 1 minute. Now, conventional scientists say that it's just a comet. Of course they're going to say that. But it's doing things that comets just don't do. No comet we've ever seen. So what is it? Joining us now to answer that question, Harvard astrophysicist Dr. Avi Loeb, and member of the House Oversight Committee, and someone who took part in the UAP hearings just last month, Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett. Gentlemen, great to have you back on. Dr. Loeb, I want to start with you. October 3rd is an important date in this 3I Atlas saga. Why is today so important, and what are we now learning about this thing?
For a simple reason, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And we are about to get the highest resolution images of 3I Atlas when it comes within 29 million kilometers from Mars. There are several orbiters, one that was deployed by NASA around Mars, and it has a camera. This camera is called HiRISE that will be able to resolve 3I Atlas with a 30 kilometer per pixel resolution. So we will learn much more about it in the coming days, and hopefully the data will be out soon. Science is fun because we can learn from evidence. So far, there are 7 anomalies of this unusual object. The size is very large. It's larger of all the size of Manhattan Island, about 1,000 times more massive than the previous interstellar comet, about 33 billion tons, at least that mass. There was a jet coming out of this object towards the sun. Unlike a cometary tail that usually goes away from the sun, there was an unusual chemical composition containing mostly nickel without iron. There was a polarization of light never seen before for comets, and the trajectory of 3I Atlas is aligned with the plane of the planets around the sun. The arrival time was fine-tuned to come very close to Mars today, and later to Jupiter and Venus. And and also I noticed that the arrival direction of 3I Atlas was coincident with the direction from where we got the most powerful radio signal back in 1977 that was called the WOW signal.
Do you get the impression that Avi Loeb, the guy who's talking so much right here, he's really into this? he is so fascinating. Look at how big his eyes are in this. He's like, let me tell you all the facts I know about this. I mean, he's really been studying this hard. Bless his heart. And I think it's interesting. Why is he so into this? So I dug a little deeper, and I wanted to know what his theology, I guess, is on this stuff. Let me show you. Watch this.
We live for less than 120 years, which is 1 part in 100 million of the age of the universe. We live for such a short time, and yet we engage in wars and conflicts that shorten this time that we are on this earth even more. Does that sound intelligent to you?
Okay, think about that for a second, because it took me a second. Is war intelligent? Does it mean that if you are at war with something, that you're less intelligent? Now, I believe that death and killing are terrible things, and they don't necessarily prove your intelligence at all. But there was war in heaven, in a perfect environment. When Satan fell, it didn't have to be that way, but the war was as real as it is here on earth. And I do believe that just because you have war with something means you have a disagreement. It's sad. I don't think we're ever going to have a war again once this whole problem with sin is over. But because Satan rebelled, he had to be cast out. And his rebellion continued here on earth. This is why we are here. This is why the Earth exists. It can't be seen right now because during the 1700s, all that went away as they tried to make people believe there wasn't a spiritual realm, and if there's not a spiritual realm, there is no God. Creating the idea, and these evangelists called evolutionists that are going to push the idea that we're seeing alien activity, and it's come full circle. And then you have the complete picture now of how this whole thing is coming together. So is war bad? Absolutely. Is a disagreement a sign of unintelligence? Well, I'll leave that for you to decide. Let's hear what else he says about this, about what he thinks about alien life and how this AI I3, whatever it is, 3i Atlas, could be something more. Watch this.
No.
So my hope is, there are religions talking about Messiah coming to earth, bringing peace and understanding. My hope is that the Messiah will not necessarily come from this earth, that it would come from another star and would give us a better perspective about how to handle ourselves as the human species, to do better, basically. Mm-hmm. And, maybe I can help bring the message to us. That's really my hope. So these are examples for questions that you asked me, what are some of the existential questions? These two are another thing I wanted to mention is that in 1882, Friedrich Nietzsche, a philosopher, declared God is dead. Okay? And by the way, he belonged to the same nation that killed 6 million Jews a century later. But it also led to the hubris that you find nowadays without spirituality, where science and technology is celebrated and there is no sense of a purpose other than enjoying yourself, mm-hmm. and perhaps finding a superhuman entity out there will bring back the sense of awe that religion did bring, a sense of modesty, humility. You are not the most powerful thing. There is someone else out there. When Moses in the Old...
Okay, did you hear what he said there? He's going to go into Moses and the burning bush here. But did we hear what he said? Perhaps finding out that there is a super intelligent being out there will help the crime and the terrible things that are happening on Earth. Do you see how this is fitting in the prophecy? As things get worse, worse, and worse, and we polarize each other here on Earth, all of a sudden, just like, was it Reagan? One of the presidents said, man, wouldn't it be interesting if all this happened and we had a extraterrestrial threat that would bring us back together? He's essentially saying the same thing, and so he's looking out to the stars for God, essentially. Some scientist in a lab coat, you'll hear him say in a second, that created us. Listen.
Testament, he saw the burning bush that was never consumed. And that convinced Moses that God exists. Nowadays, you can buy online a burning bush that will never be consumed, and it would have impressed Moses.
What?
All I'm saying is technology, when it's advanced enough, well beyond what we possess right now, can show up as a miracle, can be very impressive, convince us that there is something much more powerful than us. And this dose of modesty is really needed now.
Okay, so he says that dose of modesty is really needed now. If something would show up and be much more advanced than us, maybe it would fix all our problems. So that's what he's kind of looking at. He's reaching out to these things and saying, oh, I wish we could see this all happening here. Interesting. How he wants this whole thing to happen. Well, not everyone's on board with this, because it appears that A.B. Loeb is the one really pushing this idea that this 3i Atlas is a big deal. So Ross Coulthart, which has been a proponent of this UFO thing, has been saying on News Nation that I'm not thrilled with his pushing this agenda. Watch what he says and how it's infuriating him. Listen.
Let's deal also with the claims that have been made, mainly by Professor Avi Loeb, who is driving, God bless him, a lot of other astronomers to distraction with his persistent assertions that there is something anomalous about 3I Atlas. The ball is very much in Professor Avi Loeb's court right now to prove his case that there is something anomalous about 3I Atlas and that it's just not it's not just another meteor or comet. I've consulted with astronomers. I've consulted with people who've contacted me in great frustration because they don't understand why Professor Loeb is making such a huge song and dance on very, very limited evidence that there is something anomalous about 3I Atlas. And I've been very willing to give Professor Loeb a good go because I have huge respect for him. He's very, very well respected in the field. And I just have a hunch that just maybe he's had a private tip from somebody in NASA or some other space observatory telling him that there is something anomalous about 3I Atlas.
Did you hear that? Okay, so who is Avi Loeb? Well, he's a Harvard astronomy professor. He has a lot of clout. And by the way, I don't know whether to give props or negativity towards Harvard because, number one, they're not cancel culturing this guy who's making false claims. But number two, they're not cancel culturing this guy who has false claims. So I'm glad for not canceling, but I wish they would cancel him. I have conflicting feelings about this. But I think it's interesting that, look, he's saying maybe he has a tip that we don't know about. Maybe he's a part of the, I mean, he's not saying this, I'm saying this. Maybe he's a part of the occult that is expecting something to come back or start all this. Let me take 2 steps back here, and I'm not going to try to speculate on any of this because I don't think that's the proper way to do things. I think we need to focus primarily on what is happening in Bible and what the prophet says about this stuff because that's the only way, the sure word of prophecy is the only word that we need to focus on as Christians. But something does happen, and we need to keep our eyes open because a lot of speculation can happen. But ultimately, something happens due to bloodshed and natural disasters. How those natural disasters start, I don't know. Is it an asteroid? Probably not. Will there be in the future? I believe probably. And we're going to go in some verses that kind of talk a little bit about that. But could it be? Could it be a pole shift of some kind that starts these natural disasters? Could it be that there's going to be some major events that happen here on Earth that cause these things to come here and say, bad things are going to happen. You need to get back to God somehow. Fear is a huge motivator. We saw that in 9/11. We've seen that in the Ouchie Fauci. So I think it's interesting that fear is the motivator here. Fear is the motivator here. So I wouldn't put it past anything to have something come flinging by the Earth and kind of change things. Maybe it throws our moon off course a little bit. I don't think that it's going to be so traumatic that God's going to not be able to handle it. God's in control all the time, but all we know in prophecy, and we're going to read those verses here in a second, that something natural happens, traumatic to Earth. What could it be? Keep your eyes open, watchmen. Let's continue with what Ross has to say.
But certainly the official position from a broad range of astronomers that I've engaged with is thus, that there is no anomalous behaviour or movement detected with 3I Atlas. The most recent scientific assessments, including orbital solutions from the Minor Planet Center and NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, indicate that 3I Atlas follows a trajectory fully consistent with gravitational dynamics for an interstellar comet.
All right, so I'm going to pause it there. I think that you've heard enough from Ross. He's just not having it, and I agree. I'm not having it either. Let's go back to AV and see how his response is. I'm curious, and this will be the last clip before we go into the Bible verses. Listen to this.
All due respect, Ross Coulthart is not a scientist. And the statement he made in the last sentence is exactly the basis for a scientific paper that I submitted for publication last night. There is no non-gravitational acceleration, despite the fact that there is evaporation from the object. That means the object is very massive, anomalously massive, 1,000 times more massive than Borisov, the previous object, and 1,000,000 times more massive than Oumuamua. And this is just the lower limit. That's the minimum mass that is needed in order for it not to show any push back away from the sun. So if you see, an object that is, let's say, a dust particle, you see twice an object of the size of a dust particle, and then you see a boulder that is 1,000,000 times more massive appearing. Wouldn't that be curious? Wouldn't that be strange? Wouldn't that be anomalous? And just to remind whoever is viewing this, Ross himself keeps talking for years about unidentified anomalous phenomena. So he makes a living out of talking, not doing science, just talking and speaking to other people who do science. And he himself is engaged with things that appear anomalous. I'm doing the science. I published scientific papers. I wrote 9 scientific papers over the past 2 months on 3i Atlas. I'm not a journalist asking for the advice of other people to tell me what this object is. I'm actually doing the research to tell me what the object is. So for a journalist to go around and solicit consensus view about an object and then talk for years about anomalous phenomena that the same people that he's talking with right now would completely dismiss as irrelevant. The same UAP that he keeps talking about, UFOs, UAP, and he talks about it for many, many, many broadcasts. If he were to go to the same people that he talked with about 3i Atlas, they would completely dismiss that as irrelevant. Yet, he believes that there are unidentified anomalous phenomena and he keeps talking about it forever. But for 3i Atlas, no. He will go to the same people that dismiss UAP and ask for their advice and then use sort of an average over their opinions to claim that when Avi Loeb does scientific work on this object, we should not accept it.
Okay. Clearly there's an argument that doesn't need to be an argument. That's what I think here. But they're sure about something. I'm going to let that go for a second because we need to dive into really what the Bible says about this stuff. There is something happening. More asteroids either being seen or being flung at the Earth. I think we should really perk our ears up and wonder what's happening next. Because the Bible uses a lot of asteroid imagery. The first ones I thought of when I started thinking about this was Daniel 2. What does the asteroid represent? The rock represent? Well, it represents God's kingdom coming. I think that's fascinating because as all these scientists are looking up at the sky for the coming Savior, that's how it's represented in the Bible, as a rock that's coming. Wow, interesting. Could it be that just like in the propaganda or predictive programming Armageddon movie, we will be thinking here on Earth, we have to stop the rock from coming back? I digress. Let's get this, because that's what Revelation 16 says. We go up to make war against the one coming and returning. And that's why I'm saying that. If you haven't followed the channel, you have no idea what I'm talking about. Revelation 16, go read it. 13, 14, I believe it is. Anyway, there were supposed to be images of this thing, and I think there are a few out there now that are very pixelated, but the government went on furlough or into hiatus or whatever happens because they can't make some decisions somewhere. It's not my world. But they happened, and so they didn't show us the pictures of what was going on. Imagine that. Think that China would have stepped up and done that. They have their own information, or the UK, but we didn't get anything from them either. Perhaps this week. I don't know. Anyways, let's go and look at some of these verses. Now, I'm just going to show you some of these, and some of these you're going to go, oh, come on, that has nothing to do with it. But I thought it would be good to kind of peruse over them, because I've heard a lot of Christians say, well, this has something to do with asteroids. Let's dig into this a little bit. And again, a lot of the interpretation comes from Mervyn Maxwell. It's good, some good books. If you don't agree with Mervyn Maxwell, let me know in the comments, because, you know, maybe things have changed over the years, but these are the books that were given to me when I was studying. Maybe they're heresy now. Double check me. Always do. Always keep questioning. Revelation 8:9 says, and the second angel sounded, and it were a great mountain burning with fire, and cast into the sea. And the third part of the sea became blood. And the third part of the creatures which were in the sea died. And the third part of the ships were destroyed. Now, what in the world happened there? Well, according to this interpretation, this is all figurative. This is a very historical standpoint. But with a possible natural overtones, the burning mountain is part of the second trumpet, which brings in the Roman era. Now, why do you think it's the Roman era? We're going to go into that in a second. If you compare it to Daniel 2 statue, this symbology represents the collapse of the Roman Empire, particularly as its power fell into the sea of peoples and nations. The imagery of fire and blood expresses chaos, war, destruction, not literal meteor impacts. However, he concedes, Mervyn Maxwell, that the end of time, the trumpet imagery, may echo real cosmic or natural disturbances, showing that God can use natural means to accomplish prophetic purposes. However, usually trumpets are judgments, chapter 8 through 11 of Revelation, and the plagues, chapter 16, are final end time scenes just before the second coming. Verdict, primarily figurative. That's his primarily figurative. We're going to get into some that are not, but let's keep digging. What happened here? Come on, Brad. There we go. Revelation 8:10 through 11. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from the heaven. A star. Burning as it were a lamp. And it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of the waters. And the names of the star was called Wormwood. And many men died in the waters because they were made bitter. So what happened here? The moral or doctrine corruption that entered Christianity during the Dark Ages, making the waters bitter, truth polluted. It symbolizes spiritual poisoning, not a literal asteroid. Still, he acknowledges that celestial languages often mirrors real signs. So, and Revelation is full of imagery. We're going to get into some literal stuff here, but it's full of imagery, so be very careful how you interpret it. It's interesting, at the end of time, it's often very literal. Watch this. Let's go back. But he still acknowledges the celestial language of often mirrors real signs in the heavens, shooting stars, meteors, and serves as a reminder of the divine warnings. Verdict, figurative, spiritual corruption. All right, so Revelation 6:12 through 14, and I beheld what he had opened, the sixth seal. Now we're getting into something that's further down. The sixth seal, which is further down the timeline here. And lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of the heaven fell onto the earth. What happened here? Interpretation. This is a literal fulfillment of natural events. Now, why? Why is this? Well, Revelation 6 through 12 through 14 says Christ's prophecy in Matthew 24 to 29 says that immediately after the tribulation of those days, shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from the heavens. Interesting, huh? So it's very, very, very similar. Maxwell interprets this historically and literally in 1755. I mean, looks this stuff up. This is fascinating history. 1755 Lisbon earthquake is a major, major earthquake. The dark days of 1780, the enormous meteor shower of 1833. You should look that one up. That's incredible. It lit up the sky as if it was daytime. We must have gone through some kind of cosmic dust of some kind, because it just was insane. People thought that Christ was returning. So, but these are actual natural cataclysms, according to him, not symbols, but it really did happen. Verdict, literal. It was just a while ago. So what's in the future now? Let's look at the future. This is still talking about Matthew 24, which we just talked about, so we can kind of skip this one. Lisbon earthquake. This is where it says, immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun was dark and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. This is still talking about the exact same thing we talked about. We'll skip this one. 2 Peter 3:10. Now we're out of Revelation for a moment. The heavens shall pass away with great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. Interpretation, literal. Yeah, that's actually going to happen. This is the return of Christ. This describes the end of the world and Christ's second coming, not symbolic. The universe itself will undergo physical transformation by fire as part of God's plan to recreate the earth. Oh, this is not immediately recreated. We're taken to heaven first, but it's not a random cosmic event, but a direct act of divine power. God is coming back, and he's not a God of ice. He's a God of fire, which is very interesting to me, because all throughout history, all throughout the Bible, you see God saying, hey, look, I'm a God of fire, all these fire beings. Something's very different about how these things are lit up and very hot. It's almost as if we are an ice-cold culture. And we're going to melt if he comes back and comes near us. So be very careful. He wants to make you fireproof. So become fireproof by being with him. Okay, so it says, it's not a random cosmic event. It's the divine act of power. Verdict, this is a literal, actual thing that happens. Not an asteroid yet. 2 Peter 3 is not a vision full of apocalyptic symbology like beast trumpets, so it seals. It's a straightforward doctrinal passage written by ordinary language and believers. Peter's intent is moral and practical, to warn that the same God who once destroyed the world by water, Noah's flood, will one day destroy by fire. Because of the flood was a literal physical event, Maxwell reasons that some of the coming destruction must likewise be literal and physical. Okay, so what about Luke 21? And there shall be signs in the sun, moon, and stars, and upon the earth distresses of the nations with perplexity. The sea and the waves roaring, men's heart failing them for fear. Yeah, these are all literal. Absolutely, things are going to happen. This is the same phenomena as Revelation 6. The dark day, the red moon, the falling stars, all real astronomical events. Isn't that going to be crazy, though, to see all these things actually happen? It serves as a moral and spiritual warning. These are God's megaphones to a careless world. Literal natural events with spiritual purpose, it says. This is the verdict. The order of signs of Jesus that Jesus gives in Luke 21 and Matthew 24 perfectly match the order that John lists in the sixth seal in Revelation 6. So look at this real quick. I know this is probably a bad table, but see, it says, Jesus' prophecy says there will be earthquakes. Revelation says there was a great earthquake. Jesus says the sun will be darkened. Revelation says the sun became black as sackcloth. Jesus says the moon shall not give her light. And Revelation says the moon shall be as blood. Jesus says the stars fall from heaven. And the stars of heaven fell onto the earth, is what Revelation says. And the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And Revelation said the heaven departed as a scroll. Didn't you notice something there? Why is it so similar? Well, it's because this revelation is the revelation of Jesus Christ. This is what was given to Christ by an angel that was given to John to write down. So, of course, Jesus knew about it ahead of time. And it's so great that we're able to see this stuff that was given to Jesus, and he interpreted and understood. You should be able to understand this too. It's not a closed book. So let's keep going. Joel. Now we're getting into something interesting stuff. He says, I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord. This is a dual prophecy, according to Maxwell. This is interesting. He says he sees this prophecy as a fulfillment in part by the same signs, dark meteor shower, but culminating at the end of time in even greater global cataclysms. Cataclysms. We're not Catholic here. The blood and fire could literally be atmospheric events, symbolic of a final divine judgments. Huh. Interesting. Something that happens in the atmosphere. Couldn't God use literal things like asteroids? Perhaps. Perhaps. It could be. These show that nature itself will bear witness to humans' rebellion. So the verdict? Well, partially literal, celestial events, partially symbolic, divine judgments. The sequence, sun darkened, moon turned to blood, this is what we talked about before, is repeated almost word for word by this, Matthew, Revelation, and all this stuff. We've already talked about Lisbon, Dark Day. This is the stuff that's already happened. But will it happen again? Well, I guess we'll just have to find out. So while the signs are literal, the meaning behind them, God's wrath, justice, and call for repentance, it's symbolic and theological. Isaiah 34:4, and all the hosts of the heavens shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled back together as a scroll, and there shall be a host, their host shall fall down, and the leaf fall as a leaf falls off the vine. Well, I think everyone who's studied the Bible knows that this is absolutely the return of Christ. Symbolic language, fulfillment, literally Christ's return. He interprets this in harmony with Revelation 6. This is all kind of, it's all looped together. Anyone that says that the Bible isn't congealed together just blows my mind, because every book is almost a very similar thing. It's just reiterating, this is what happens. This is how you live life. You don't have to have the entire Bible even to understand the gospel. You pretty much only have to have the Sermon on the Mount. The scroll imagery conveys a collapse of the visible heavens, possibly representing atmospheric phenomenon known as the second coming. Literal second coming. Revelation 16, let's go back to Revelation for a second. 21. And there fell upon men great hail out of heaven, even every stone about the weight of a talent. Now, this is really interesting, because I want to talk about this for a second, because a lot of people say, back in the Bible times, you were supposed to stone a sinner for breaking the Sabbath. But why don't you do that today? Well, it's because of the covenants. That's what happened. Let me give you a picture. Step back for a second. The original covenant, which God wanted to establish with us, was He would be our God and we would be His people. We would look to Him to fulfill everything, basically. He wanted to fight our wars. He wanted to, with hornets and hail and all this stuff. But instead, we wanted our own king. We wanted to do it ourselves. I mean, after all, we signed His covenant, His contract with all that you say we will do. We'll do it all. Don't worry. Just don't let them talk to us. We'll die. And God said, well, if you want to do it that way, you're going to have to learn that you can't do it. You can't keep this on your own. You're going to need me. But I'm willing to go with you, and I'll give you guidance on how to do it. And here's what you should do if you want to keep it by yourselves. And He gave them all the Mosaic laws and everything that to help them keep the government. But God didn't want us to do that. God wanted Him to fight these wars. And so if the truth is that if you break the Sabbath, you're stoned, as that's what He gave these Mosaic laws, when does that happen again? We just read it. The hailstones. Those that are breaking the Sabbath, stones fall upon them. And so this is the stoning of the sinner at this point. That's what I believe. Those laws are real, but it's not necessarily up to us to keep them. God is in control, and He's going to keep them. This is insane. So when Revelation says 16:21, and there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about a weight of a talent, boy, get out of the way. This is going to be for those who are knowingly and sadly deciding to go against the law of God. It's not going to be a surprise. God's much more merciful than that. God loves every single individual, and He's going to give everyone the opportunity to do what's right. And if you're keeping the law according to your understanding of it, and God has shown you, He's going to show you how to keep it. This life is more than just you trying to figure it out on your own. The Spirit is with every single person. He loves you enough to show you through miraculous signs. And so when you finally come to your end, you're going to have every opportunity. God loves everybody, even the worst sinner. And I am one of those. So make sure that you know that too. Interpretation, literal global disaster. he treats the 7 plagues as literal, this is Mervyn Maxwell, as literal physical judgments through the intertwined with spiritual meaning. The earthquake and hail are actually end-time phenomenon that accommodate the second coming, representing divine intervention through natural forces under God's control. So is this literal or physical? Well, it's literal. Literal or figurative, I mean. Physical catastrophe at the close of Earth's history. Isaiah 24:19 through 20, the earth is utterly broken down. The earth is clean, dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard. When is this happening? Well, this is actually, I believe, after the second coming. I got to look back in that verse, but let's see what Maxwell's view is. Literal physical shaking of the earth. This is a cross-reference. Maxwell cites that describing the planetary instability at the end of time. Yeah, second coming of Christ. When the divine power shakes not only the nations, but literal globe, compared to Haggai 2:6. So I dug into Haggai. I want to read what Haggai had to say about it. This is some of the smaller books that you don't read as much. So it says, "This is what the Lord Almighty says. In a little while, I will once more shake the heavens and the earth, the sea, and the dry land." So it reflects both political, geological, and upheaval. This is a big deal. This is a literal event that's going to happen. How does it start? Is it just the four winds, the angels that are just holding this stuff back, and all of a sudden it starts for no reason? Or is there an actual event that starts this? Are the angels being the bad angels, or the good angels holding back the bad angels from throwing a bunch of comets at us that destabilize the earth, that knock the magnetic field off, causes the sun to burn the earth? We don't know, but I'm sure the scientists are going to try to explain it through their ideas. Don't speculate too much, but it is interesting for the watchmen to keep watch and understand these verses so that they can say, this has all been prophesied. The Bible is true. You don't have to worry. God's in control. Follow him. This is what the purpose of this stuff is. Not to make you fear. Daniel 2, this is what I referred to at the beginning. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon its feet. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. So what was that? Well, that was actually Christ's kingdom. Comes in the clouds. The thing that all the world is going to fight against, according to Revelation 16, 13, and 14. Symbolic of Christ's kingdom, but using physical imagery. The stone isn't a literal meteor, but Christ's second coming, destroying human kingdoms and establishing his eternal reign. Now, not on earth. He's coming back to take us home and eventually come back after 1,000 years. Yet this impactful imagery reflects the sudden, literal, world-shattering nature of that event. Very, very, very symbolic of what's happening here. And finally, the last one we have here is Revelation 16, 18 through 20. Something that we've probably read quite a bit after, because happens after Revelation, what we talk about a lot on here, 13 to 14. And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as there was not since men upon the earth. And every island fled away. The mountains were not found. This is the point where it gets real, folks, because this is a literal event. Revelation 16, 18 to 20 is heavy. It's not metaphorical poetry. It's the culmination of Earth's final natural convulsion, literal shaking of the planet as Christ appears. Before Christ appears, even, I'm going to say. But also signifying the moral collapse of Babylon. In this view, when Revelation's final cataclysm unfolds, both heaven and earth react. The physical world convulses while the spiritual powers crumble. Big, 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 big things. And we know from prophecy, from reading the Bible, that we are in for natural disasters and big things are coming. So we have to be very, very close to God. Remember back, and this really was impactful today when I was reading the Bible. It talks about how Christ, oh man, I don't have it with me, do I? Christ, when he was, who was it? Let me look it up real quick because I don't want to misquote the Bible. That would be awful. But it's interesting to me because it says that one of the disciples was seen under the fig tree. His name was Nathaniel, or also known as Bartholomew, and Christ said, "Here is a true Israelite." And so I was thinking, well, he said, "How do you know? How do you know I'm a true Israelite?" And basically, I'm summarizing. And he says, "Well, I saw you under the fig tree." I thought, what was he doing under the fig tree to prove that he was a good, righteous man? And basically, what God was saying, this is someone that was truly after Israel's heart. This is a true Israelite. So I looked it up and I did some digging, and what the general consensus is that he was worshiping God, is that he was doing his devotions. And so Christ, looking upon him, was saying, this is the true Christian, someone that wants to be with me, someone that wants to be with my Father. How many of us take time in the morning to be with God? If you've made it this far in the program, I encourage you to take time and spend with God, because that is ultimately how you can truly be a true Israelite. Not in the literal sense, but in the figurative sense that you are figuratively Israel. You are the one that Christ is coming for. You keep the commandments of God and have the faith of Jesus Christ. You are the one that dwells with the Most High, so one day you will dwell with him forever. And if that's your hope, don't look to these asteroids for the end of the world. Let the scientists debate that and the newscasters cry about it. But ultimately, our hope is in the rock himself from Daniel 2, which will come back, and we will someday be taken home with him. Folks, I hope you've had it. I haven't even been looking at the stream. I apologize. I want to see the chat, and I'm sure that you guys are up. 275, cool. You're still with us. Wolfgang is talking mostly in the chat. If you guys can bring the chat, I'm going to pull it up here just for a second, just to see if you guys are even paying attention. Is everyone asleep? Am I talking to myself? I hope not. This is I thought it was an interesting study to kind of go through all this stuff, because I think going through and understanding all this imagery that's happening is pretty important, don't you? I do. Let me see here. Let me go up and see. If anybody can hear me, say something in the chat, and then we'll, if we have any questions or any comments or any closing things, then I'll close with that. But I just want to make sure everyone's paying attention. Very good. All right, I'm seeing a bunch of stuff come through now. We got a little bit of a delay here, but I can definitely see it. Amanda, Pixie, Aubrey, Natural, Jolie, Azul, Christine, Chadwick, Lisa, Dawn, absolutely. Aaron, Theodore, Dorothy. Yep, I see you all. Excellent. Very, very good. I hope I didn't miss anybody. You are here now. Who are you? If you're just joining this program just today, I hope that doesn't come across as egotistical. But my name is Bradley. I run Strange Normal, not because I was planning to do this, but just because I thought it would be interesting to cover some spiritualism that no one else is talking about, and this became like a huge channel for overnight that I am flattered to help push along. And so, again, I want to encourage people. This is go to strangenormal.org, submit a free request. What is that? It's like an aphid got in here. Go there and get a few of these books to hand out. These are really interesting. Or just read it online. It's all online to read for free. Just click on the little image to read it for free, or click the link below the image, and you can submit a request to get a few or more to hand out. And I will start sending those out next week. This week, hopefully. This is Sunday night. So this week, which is 10/12/2025. Yeah, so it's going to be this week sometime. All right, we're closing off here. Let's see how much we got to. Did we get to a high number tonight? Well, we came up to almost 300 concurrent. That's great. Very, very good. And I hope everyone enjoyed hearing hearing about 3I Atlas, and it will go past us. Maybe it'll push us. Maybe it'll cause some grief for our planet. I don't know. But ultimately, I know that we are closer to the end of time than when we first believed. And so we should be being that Israelite and being close to Christ every single day. My name is Bradley. And this has been Pure Strangeness and Absolute Normalcy. As usual, Strange Normal. We'll see you next time.